Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I thought it was a while since we had done a Fragrance Friday, and as it's Friday and as I've got actually a couple of new fragrances on my perfume tray, I thought I would talk about one of them briefly today, and this is Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. I had been wanting to try Lost Cherry for quite a while. I actually thought it was like a new release at the end of last year, and I just hadn't got round, what with the end of the year and then pandemic and so on and so forth, to having a visit to a Tom Ford counter in order to have a spray. Actually, when I started just looking what it said on the internet about this has been out since 2018, so 2 years already. And those of you who are Tom Ford fragrance fans may have noticed that they brought out another one. I'm going to say this year, but it was probably last year, called, I think, Burnt Peach, a peach one anyway. So obviously, Estee Lauder, in the guise of Tom Ford, are doing a foray into fruity backgrounds for the ever popular fragrance range. I have a kind of love-hate relationship with Tom Ford fragrances. They are ridiculously expensive. On the one hand, you'll have heard me say this before, my all-time favourite fragrance is Black Orchid, which is a Tom Ford, and one of them, they're more keenly priced ones, in fact. I just think it's a fantastic fragrance, and although I'll go for long periods not wearing it, it's always in my favourites, and definitely my favourite evening holiday fragrance, special occasions fragrance. Although I do try to wear it sometimes in the day as well, certainly in the winter. At the other end of the range, they're kind of exclusive fragrances, which are hideously expensive, even in the smallest 50 ml sizes. I say the smallest because this is an interesting size that I'm going to talk about in a moment. But generally, you're looking at 50 ml as the smallest size, and they come in at, over £200 for that, which is ridiculous. I love some of those. Very fond of Champaca Absolute, which is one of the older ones in the range. I think some of the masculine ones, the tobacco and woody fragrances, are really well done, although they're a bit too heavy for my taste. And then some of the others I just think are completely over the top, cloying in a way that some of those bad 80s fragrances were, if those of you who are my age can remember. Anyway, so I'd read about Lost Cherry, didn't get round to trying it, certainly wasn't going to shell out £200 on a bottle over mail order without having smelt it. Thought about buying one of the decants that you can get on eBay, but you're never quite sure about authenticity and they're quite expensive. Then I noticed on, I think initially Selfridges, this new size, which is 10 ml in a travel flask. Now, this is not cheap for 10 mils of perfume. In case you're wondering how much that is in reality, that's what the inside looks like. In a really nice, classy, lovely magnetic top, beautifully tactile presentation flask. And I suppose you could refill this if you then got a bigger bottle. I don't know how easy that is. So it's a really decent sample size for you to try, but it's not going to last very long. And this costs £56. So I can't pretend it's cheap, and I can't pretend it's good value if you say, well, that's 10 mils and 50 mils comes in around 236, I think. But if you want to give the fragrance a really good try, not just kind of one spray at the counter, then I do think this is a good option. I'm waiting for the burnt peach to come out in this formula, in this sizing. And part of the reason I wanted to talk about this now is there are quite a few of the Tom Ford fragrances, the more expensive ones, including the exclusives in this size, and travel bottles on the Tom Ford website and websites like Selfridges. So I do think they make nice presents. The packaging is really good quality, and I've no reason to suspect it wouldn't be equally good for the other fragrances. Obviously, they look quite different depending on the kind of colour scheme. So they're nice presents, and if you are a fragrance fan and you spend ridiculous amounts of money, I still think this is quite a good option to try out. So enough about the sizing. What do I think of the fragrance? Well, in short, I do like it. It's not going to be up there as one of my all-time favourites, but very wearable. I like it enough to certainly kind of consider buying a bigger size, probably on eBay rather than the full price. Top notes: sour cherry, bitter almond, and liqueur. And I think you definitely get those. It smells boozy. It smells not overpoweringly almondy. You're not going to end up smelling like a slab of marzipan, but it's definitely there. The cherry, in a way, I think is the least prominent to me, and I'm surprised about that because it's not only a top note, it's said to be a middle note as well. The middle notes are sour cherry, Turkish rose, and jasmine sambuca. The base notes, huge amount of base notes, for a perfume that doesn't smell that complex, actually. The base notes are said to be tonka bean, balsam, vanilla, benzoin, cinnamon, clove, sandalwood, cedar, vetiver, and the always dodgy, for me, patchouli. Although it's in a surprising number of fragrances that I like, I tend not to like patchouli as a note by itself, or in certain combinations. I will say I think patchouli often adds to the lasting power of fragrances. A lot of people I've seen writing about this fragrance on the internet or describe it as a linear fragrance. In other words, it doesn't develop that much on the skin. So what you get in the opening sniff is pretty much how it remains. And I think that's largely true. To me, it dried down a bit creamier than the initial kind of boozy opening that I got. And I think so. I can definitely smell the vanilla, the tonka, some of the woodiness, although not overtly sandalwood, not overtly woody. It's quite a nice balance between fruit, booze, woodiness. They describe it as an oriental floral, in fact, whereas it doesn't smell particularly floral to me. It's definitely an autumn winter fragrance. It's definitely, I would describe it as a gourmand because it, definitely smells of warmth, alcohol, sweetness, but not in a cloying way. Again, I've seen it criticised as not having a great last. And I haven't found that. I can smell it definitely on my clothing for a long time after I've sprayed it. And indeed, I can smell it on the skin even after I've had a bath or a shower. So I think the last is very good. I don't know how far it projects because obviously we're not seeing people very much, so they're not commenting on the fragrance that I'm wearing in the normal way. But my sense is that most Tom Ford fragrances do have reasonable silage projection. Um, so, yeah, I would say it's not bad at all. Always a personal thing, isn't it? I like this. I like it as a seasonal fragrance. I don't have anything else that smells like this. It isn't too sweet, but it's comforting. It's not too girly, but it's fun. So, yeah, I would recommend having a sniff, seeing if you like it, and definitely checking out this sizing if you're into either trying or increasing your Tom Ford fragrance wardrobe, because it's slightly less daunting on the purse. So I do have another fragrance to talk about, but this is getting a bit long, so maybe save that till next week. Hope you're having a good day and that you all have a splendid weekend. Please give a thumbs up if you've got to the end and enjoyed this, and speak to you soon. Bye for now.